In fact, the conference provides a unique opportunity for broadcasters in the Asian region to share their thoughts on soft and hardware aspects of broadcasting. This summit will encourage regional and bilateral dialogue and cooperation to respond to challenges to the broadcasting sector in the region. In the past few decades, the Asian media landscape has become transnational in terms of both consumption and production. And keeping this in mind, the theme, Telling Our Stories, Asia and More, of this summit is very, very relevant. Many Asian countries have witnessed emerging and new media that is not limited by their national boundaries. In fact, pan-Asianization of national media content has altered lifestyles, attitudes, and perceptions of Asians. And a huge proportion of the world population lives in these represented countries. As citizen sovereignty is becoming more salient on the new technological information platforms, public opinion is playing a more influential role in the formation of content. The chief guest for today, Minister for Information and Broadcasting and the Minister for Textiles, Smriti Irani, has arrived for the inaugural session.
Good morning. Dignitaries, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, the Institute of Mass Communications and Broadcast Engineering Consultants India Limited, I'd like to welcome you all to the 15th Asia Media Summit of the Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development 2018. The theme is Telling Our Stories, Asia and More. The Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development is an intergovernmental organization in the field of electronic media development, which organizes seminars, conferences, and training programs for participants from member countries. This 15th Media Summit will provide a unique opportunity for broadcasters in the Asia Pacific region to share their stories and experiences, as well as latest technological developments. It will also encourage a dialogue for cooperation to meet future challenges in the broadcasting sector. With 228 foreign delegates, this summit has representatives from more than 39 countries.
Also a quick fact check of your host nation. When we look at the India media and entertainment sector, it is one of the fastest growing industries with over $20 billion in revenue. And this is expected to touch over $35 billion by 2021. Television dominates currently. We have over 800 television channels, out of which 400 are news and current affairs. Yes, we love our news. And 450 are general entertainment channels. We have about 154 million subscribers in television and is the second largest subscription TV market in the Asia Pacific region. We also have 407 million newspaper readers. That's why we love our news so much. India is one of the highest spending and fastest growing advertising markets globally, expected to touch $10.59 billion by the end of this year.
We're very honored on this occasion to welcome the Honorable Minister for Information and Broadcasting and Textiles, Government of India, Srimati Smriti Irani, and we'd like to welcome her with a bouquet of flowers. We'd like to welcome Dr. Abbas Nasseri, Director General International Development and Advisor to the President, IRIB and AIBD, Iran. We'd like to welcome Mr. Shigeru Aoyagi, Director, UNESCO, New Delhi Office. We'd like to welcome Mr. Sam Seok Ko, Standing Commissioner, Korea Communications Commission. We'd like to welcome Honorable Dr. Kieu Kanharit, Minister for Information, Cambodia. We'd like to welcome Honorable Shri Hasnul Haq Inu, Minister for Information from Bangladesh. We'd like to welcome Mr. Vineet Jain, Managing Director, Times Group. And also on the dais, Mr. Sitanshu Kar, Director General, Press Information Bureau. I'd like to request our Honorable Minister and all our other dignitaries on the dais to inaugurate this ceremony by lighting the lamp.
We start all our programs with the lighting of an auspicious lamp. Many of you all will ask us, why is this done? Well, light is knowledge, which removes ignorance represented by darkness. We light the lamp and bow to it. We bow to knowledge, which is the greatest wealth of all. This oil lamp has spiritual significance. The wick symbolizes our ego, and oil are negative tendencies. When the light of knowledge is lit, negativity and ego slowly perish.
I'd now like to request the Director General, Public Information Bureau, Shri Sitanshu Kar, to formally welcome the gathering.
Honorable Minister for Information and Broadcasting and Textiles, Government of India, Smriti Irani ji, His Excellency Mr. Hassanul Haq Inu, Minister of Information, Bangladesh, His Excellency Dr. Kieu Kanharit, Minister of Information, Cambodia, Standing Commissioner, Korea Communications Commission, Mr. Sam Seok Ko, Director General, International Department and Advisor to President, AIBD, Dr. Abbas Nasiri Tahiri, Mr. Shigeru Aoyagi, Director, UNESCO, New Delhi Office, Managing Director of the Times of India Group, Sri Vineet Jain, distinguished delegates, fellow travelers, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, to this historic 15th Asia Media Summit 2018 in this historic city of Delhi. It's only a matter of coincidence that the theme of the summit, telling our stories, Asia and more, is being discussed in this ancient city, having a history of over 2,000 years, and during which it has witnessed many ups and downs in its checkered past, much of which has gone into the city's folklore. The city's history evokes animated debate even today. So the setting is perfect, and I believe the weather is also favorable. The weather in this part of the year can be quite challenging. However, I must confess that ever since the arrival of our distinguished guests, The weather god has been kind to us, and we have been rewarded with some cool showers. I hope this trend continues till Saturday at least, when you go out to explore the city a little more. Ladies and gentlemen, as we just heard, India, a country of 1.3 billion people, has a strong tradition of storytelling. Making it a little contextual, it's a country of 23 major languages and as many as 720 dialects. It's also a country where 65% of the population is below 35 years of age. It gives me a sense of awe and disbelief as I look back and connect the theme of the summit in my life and career as a public communicator for over 3 decades. I come from a background in time and space where much of the early education was through storytelling. That primal, soft tool for communicating ideas, driving home a point, influencing others through mental imagery, and inculcating values and transferring cultural imprints. Over the years, while the core concept has remained the same, the media used for storytelling have undergone metamorphosis propelled by convergence technologies. And here, change is the only constant. As Professor Henry Jenkins of MIT would define it, media convergence is an ongoing process occurring at various intersections of media technologies, industries, content, and audiences. It's not an end state. We are in the cusp of revolutionary shifts in the way we think, the way we tell our stories, the way we conceive our business plans, and the way we take a relook at our legal framework as we inch towards incorporating artificial intelligence and other technological innovations and practices in media industry. These are some of the topics which would be coming up for discussion, and it would be a festival of ideas of storytelling in the next 2 days, as the participants and delegates from diverse backgrounds share cross-country experiences. I must say that AIBD has been prudent and far-sighted in selecting the theme for the summit, as in these times when technological changes have been huge, it is of vital importance that we revisit the most basic component of the communication, that of storytelling. Thank you very much.
I'd now like to invite Mr. Vineet Jain, MD Times Group, to give his opening remarks. Sir.
Honorable Minister for Information and Broadcasting, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the Indian media landscape is more dynamic than ever before. Mediums are converging, and successful media companies no longer think about print, TV, radio, digital, but simply about the consumer. With more than 900 TV channels and about 17,000 newspapers, India is the most diverse and vibrant media market in the world today. And now, with the rapid growth of 4G, rising literacy, and the fastest growing large economy in the world, the Indian media market is as exciting as it gets. The headroom for growth is enormous. Advertising is the lifeblood of the media industry, but ad spend as a percentage of India's GDP is the lowest among the world's largest economies. In Asia alone, Japan is at 0.88%, China at 0.7%, Malaysia at 6.64%, and Singapore at 0.6%. And India's ad spend? a minuscule 0.33% of GDP. Increased advertising expands consumer demand, drives sales, and boosts GDP. Most importantly, it helps create jobs, something this country desperately needs. But for Indian media to realize its full potential, regulatory reforms are needed across the board to make it easier to do business, remove anomalies in the system, and above all, ensure a fair marketplace that benefits the consumer. Today, e-commerce companies, telecom operators, and social networks all seek to play a role as major media players. But these tectonic changes bring with them new and serious challenges. A level playing field is a prerequisite for healthy competition and plurality of voices. Consolidation in the telecom industry has left just 3 serious players standing, with mobile becoming virtually the only screen. Telcos will control what you watch, read, consume, and transact, leading to a near monopoly situation. The government must discourage further mergers and acquisitions in telecom because that would drastically limit consumer choice. For the same reason, it should bring laws against telcos owning and favoring its own content over others, just as TV channels are not allowed to own majority stakes in cable networks. India needs a healthy, diverse, and competitive media ecosystem. Net neutrality was an important step, and Times Group supported this position to ensure that pipe owners don't control the message and create walled gardens. And on TV regulation ensured separate ownership of channels and carriage companies to avoid conflict of interest. It's important that for instance, there is no reason for the FM radio industry to be as small as it is, especially when you compare with other Asian countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Philippines. A simple reform can spur exponential growth. The government can almost double the number of FM stations in a city by having the spectrum separation between 2 channels. The TRAI has made this recommendation twice already. Broadcasters will be able to offer much more variety in content, just like TV channels do. Why can't Delhi and Mumbai, with population of 20 million plus, have 20 channels when smaller cities like Colombo and Manila do? The government itself would be the biggest beneficiary in the form of higher auction fees and annual license fees and taxes. The growth of digital India has enabled a wide range of voices, but it's also brought us to new post-truth world order, lowering the bar of quality democratic conversation. Digital media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, and YouTube are enablers of great conversation, but they're also hotbeds for misinformation, propaganda, and the spread of fake news. They have realized that unverified content can attract attention and revenues. India must take a more proactive stance by holding a digital platform accountable for the content they propagate, just as any other media company is held accountable for what it publishes or broadcasts. This is not a simple issue, but it is a vital one to protect the world's largest democracy. In a world where the line between real and fake news is being blurred, especially on social media, the credibility of print is being increasingly valued by discerning consumers. But sadly, the business model of newspapers is under threat with rising newsprint prices and cutthroat digital advertising. As business leaders, we must innovate to maintain relevance, and the government must work with the industry to ensure that we maintain a strong and healthy press, which is vital for a thriving democracy. India's digital economy holds significant promise, but as it stands today, Digital India looks to become an extension of US and Chinese companies, rather than a strong standalone ecosystem. These companies now dominate digital businesses in India. They can leverage larger balance sheets and resource from their home markets. Unlike traditional industries, for these companies, expanding into India is as simple as flipping a switch, requiring little investment in India to succeed. In comparison, China's digital economy is one of its major strategic advantages today. China has supported local digital businesses which now contribute more than 20% of country's GDP's growth. It has created millions of high-quality jobs and fostered an entrepreneurial ecosystem that rivals that of the US. Today, most of India's largest internet businesses will be either entirely or heavily owned by American or Chinese companies. This has serious economic and political implications. These digital businesses will become the backbone of media, commerce, information, and finance for India. Foreign companies and agencies will control valuable and extensive data about India, and that should worry us. The Cambridge Analytica Facebook scandal has exposed how this data can be used to damage a country. The lion's share of the value creation from these enterprises passes back to other countries, supporting their own job markets and global competitiveness. Just as cotton was exported out of India under British rule to be spun into yarn and sold back to India, today, data is being siphoned by global platforms, making them stronger and commoditizing the Indian market. We must proactively protect our national interests with laws to ensure data stays within India and is governed by Indian laws. Economically, we have the most aspiring entrepreneurs in the world. But ultimately, our political and economic ecosystem should view them with pride and support them to become champions of India on a global stage. Simply put, India is the most exciting media market in the world. It has the opportunity to become a major driver of India's GDP growth and job creation. With proper nurturing and support, it can be a major source of global pride, the way the IT sector was in the 1990s. At the Times Group, we are focused on continuously pushing our boundaries to be more innovative, relevant, and useful for the Indian consumer. We look forward to playing a major role in the evolution of the most exciting country in the world today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vineet Jain. I'd now like to request Mr. Hasnul Haq Inu, Honorable Minister for Information, Bangladesh, to please address the gathering.
Her Excellency Smriti Irani, Union Minister of Textiles, Information and Broadcasting of India, other ministers, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let me greet you on behalf of the 160 million peoples of Bangladesh. And I recall, as I am in India now, the great war we fought in 1971 when the peoples of India and the government of India stood by us. We liberated our country in 1971. So I pay my homage to the martyrs of 1971 War of Liberation, the Indian soldiers, more than 4,000, who led their lives. Besides, side by side, with our freedom fighters, we lost 3 million people in that great war of liberation. In 1971, I fought a bloody liberation war under the leadership of our father of the nation, Bangamundhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Now, I am fighting a difficult war against terrorists and cyber criminals to keep the media safe and expanding. Having said that, I do extend my earnest felicitations to the Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting and Development for selection of the summit theme, Telling Our Stories, Asia and More. My greetings are not only because that the broadcasters tell our stories to the world, but also for the reason that there are much more to tell. We in Asia may take pride in housing 60% of the world's population in 30% of the Earth's landmass. But we also feel the heat of 766 million extremely poor living below the poverty line of $1.9 per day. About 33% of them are in South Asia, 9% in East Asia, and the Pacific, and rest are scattered. Amidst this situation, if you ask stories of my country, I would tell you that in Bangladesh, out of 160 million people, we have about 141 million mobile users and 70 million internet subscribers connected to the information superhighway. 31 television channels, 22 FM radio, 17 community radio are providing broadcasting services round the clock. With a growth rate of 7.2% per annum, Bangladesh is the 44th largest economy and 32nd in terms of purchasing power parity, and is classified among the next 11 emerging market economies and a frontier market. In global economy, we are top in entrepreneurship, building second in ready-made garments production, third in the vegetable production, and fourth in the sweetwater fish production. But ladies and gentlemen, do we have our challenges? We do have our challenges. Our people, so also you also, have the story of combating 6 most awe-striking challenges of the day. The challenges are poverty, gender disparity, terrorism, ICT revolution, climate change, and uneven globalization. Bangladesh now is the example of making success stories out of these 6 most complex challenges under the leadership of Her Excellency, the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh. With our Vision 2021 and Vision 2041 and Digital Bangladesh, with revival of the dream of our father of the nation, Bangamundhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, to turn the country into Golden Bengal. There are stories behind. We pulled 12 million people out of poverty and 13 million people from extreme poverty in just last 9 years. In women's empowerment, in political arena, Bangladesh ranks 7th among 144 countries. And in total our gender parity, Bangladesh now ranks 47th with a giant leap from her 91 place in 2008. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina adopted zero-tolerance policy in combating terrorism. 15 major drives by law enforcers last year kept the grounds clean as the government vowed that our land cannot be used by terrorists and terrorist networks. Here I must add that militancy and terrorism are the greatest enemy of mankind, civilization and development. No country, rich or poor, large or small, and no media, broadcast or press or online is free from the threat. This compels us to fight united against terrorism for the sake of mankind, and not only for the Asia-Pacific, but for global community for peace and development. The story of the ICT revolution is the story of turning the globe into a transparent glass house. In that glass house lives the woman, children, the men, the society, and the state. Our challenge is to maintain the dignity of the woman, security of the children, and the security of the state machineries and financial institutions, social values, and sanctity of our personal lives. We do not have alternatives to keep the cyberspace free from those crimes. You would appreciate we are updating our laws. If you look back, we'll say that we are living in a glass house. Our scientists are inventing flood-tolerant, resilient seeds to take care of the poverty. So, at the end, let me say that globalization is a trend we cannot stop. Rather, we should, but we put every effort to make it an even one. I say strong regionalism is the most effective policy in this case. Strong neighborhood, strong regional cooperation is the way forward to even and disparity-free globalization. Let us unite our hands to bring forward the success stories to keep the media free from terrorists and cyber criminals and focus on the courageous efforts of the peoples and the governments of the day. Thank you very much. Joy Bangla.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to invite Dr. Hugh Kanti Harat, Honorable Minister of Information, Cambodia, to address this gathering.
Your Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, dear friends, good morning. It's my great pleasure to be here with you to share our experience dealing with the issue of media regulation policies. As you know well, Cambodia has been through a dramatic period of its history during the last 2 decades of the 20th century, in which millions of Cambodians had been killed or died on the killing field, starvation, sickness, and internal fighting. There were many factors conducive to this tragedy, but there were one that I want to stress out today. It was the lack of free press. Until the United Nations Organization of General Election in 1993, Cambodia never knew the real democratic process. The freedom of speech and expression were near non-existent. Any form of social contest were severely put down. The political correctness was the only form of social attitudes. From these past lessons, one of the top priorities put forward by the royal government of Cambodia was to establish a free press to ensure the democratic participatory of all the Cambodian citizens. The Ministry of Information was then empowered to draft a law dealing with this issue. A working group was established with the participation of representatives of the United Nations Human Rights Office, and in 1995, a law on the regime of the press was adopted by the National Assembly. This new law, until now, still regulates the media operation in Cambodia, and I must point out that it's one of the freer press laws in the region. There are some of its most vanguard points. 1, the censorship is illegal. 2, both Cambodian and foreigner can be a publisher. 3, the publisher had the right not to reveal the source of information. 4, no jail terms for expression published in newspaper. Thanks to this law, Cambodia has seen a booming of a multitude of media. Until now, Cambodia has more than 600 newspapers and magazines, more than 140 radio stations, 30 TV stations, plus many TV online. However, there are some remarks on this figure. Despite more than 600 newspapers were registered, less than 100 are regularly in circulation. The others are just hibernating and come back to life only during the election or on some special occasion like the King or the Prime Minister's anniversary birthday. Some important national ceremony or during the local and general election. Many publishers and reporters never been trained properly as journalists. Despite all this shortcoming, we are trying to do our best to improve the status of the press in Cambodian society by maintaining a close relationship with different press associations. I'd like to say that in Cambodia, we have 38 press associations. And so this organization, through this organization, we conduct a short training, both on professionalism and legal aspect of the job, and a regular roundtable to discuss on some important national or social issues to make the journalists more aware of the ongoing situation. However, when the professional quality of the journalists is improving, there is also the problem of access to information. As I told you previously, Cambodia never been in the democratic process before the UN organized general election. Therefore, the authority in some areas were reluctant in sharing the information to the press or to the public. To remedy this situation, in 2013, the Royal Government of Cambodia tasked the Ministry of Information to draft the law on access to information to ensure a more active participation of the population into the political, economical, and social life of the country, and to guarantee a good governance of public affairs. After than 2 years of drafting and consulting at the ministry level, and with the participation of UNESCO, UN Human Rights Office, different NGO and civil society, this draft law is completed and is now in the process of interministerial meeting before going to be adopted by the Council of Ministers and after that the National Assembly. With this law plus many related laws like the draft law to protect the whistleblower, we are confident that we are in a positive path to establish a free press in Cambodia, thus preventing any abuse of power and news manipulation for political or personal gains. Your Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, and friends, to conclude my short presentation, may I extend our wish to the leaders and people of India, staff of the organizing committee, manager and staff of the AIBD, all distinguished delegates to have very good health and great success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to request Mr. Sam Seo Ko, Standing Commissioner, Korea Communications Commission, to please address the gathering.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sam Seo Ko, Standing Commissioner of KCC, Korea. Korea wishes to cooperate more with the coordinate here today. We will continue to contribute to international society in broadcasting and communication. I will explain more in my presentation in the next session. I hope today's event will be very successful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to request Mr. Shingeru Ayagi, Director, UNESCO, New Delhi.
Honorable Smriti Irani, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, India. Honorable Mr. Inu, the Minister of the Information, Bangladesh. And Honorable Minister Kang Ha-lit, the Minister of Information, Cambodia. Dr. Taheri from Iran. Mr. Ko from Korea. And Mr. Jain from MD Times Group and organizer. On behalf of UNESCO, especially on behalf of the newly appointed our Director General, Mr. Andre Asley, I'd like to extend our hearty congratulations on the organizers, the Asia and the Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development, as well as the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting of India, to organize this very relevant and timely meeting to discuss the stories in the media. It is my great pleasure to say a few words on this occasion on behalf of UNESCO and on my behalf, and would like to encourage you to reflect on, in a serious way, in coming days, what is the role of media and broadcasting in creating peace, prosperous planet, with partnership with the people. These 5 P's, planet, peace, prosperity, partnership, and peace, are the guiding principle of the Agenda 2030. As you may know, our Secretary General, Guterres, mentioned in his report on the UN repositioning that the UN's role in development is critical, and we should focus on 3 things. One is prevention of the conflict. Second is prevention of climate impact. And the third one is prevention of threat to the societies. The Bangladesh minister mentioned about the cyber attack and the terrorism we are now facing. And also the Minister of Cambodia mentioned the role of media and then the misinterpretation or manipulation of the news and the stories. We are facing a very tough time. We are having the new advancement of the technologies. The usual people, citizens, can be the news and the story consumer, but at the same time, they can be the reporter, individual reporter. So, with this, the advancement of the modern technology, the media landscape is changing to a great extent. The world is now full of stories and full of news, bad and good, constructive and negative, and superficial and profound. Today's summit will focus on storytelling and stories. The world is also full of very wonderful stories and storytelling culture. In India, we have Mahabharata, Ramayana. In Japan, for example, we have Tale of Genji. These stories has been giving our generation to generation the human value, culture, importance of the people, and history. That will create some kind of the culture which can construct the more peaceful societies by recognizing the diversity and difference of the people. That will create within the mind of man kind of the positive attitude and the behavior for the peace building. Once we understand the diversity, we can increase the respect to the others and the respect to the other cultures and people. That will be contributing to the prevention of the conflict. So media has a great responsibility in dealing with the stories in a very constructive and positive way so that all the people can enjoy the diversity and rich culture and rich history which has been passed on from generation to generation. Human values, culture, traditions, which were transmitted through such stories and storytelling, is itself a truth and a fact. So we have to focus on this beauty of our history and culture. UNESCO has been working for this field for a long time. As you may know, the UNESCO Constitution is saying that since the war is created in the mind of man, we have to build a defense of peace in the mind of man. With this spirit, the UNESCO has been working in this field through the couple of activities. As you may know, the Memory of the World program tried to protect the disappearing of the documentation in the history and in the culture. We also have the 2003 Convention on the Protection of Intangible Cultural Heritage, through which we try to protect the rich storytelling, oral traditions and oral expressions, which is the important part of storytelling. And then we do have the kind of activity to promote media and information literacy, which will impart the people to have more relevant and appropriate skills in reading and creating news and information. And we also support the protection of the mother language or the languages, which is also the very important part of the culture, our rich culture. As Bangladesh, the minister said, Bangladesh has looked at independence in the year of 1971, and one of the spirit they protect is their mother language, which is Bengali. So the language itself has history and traditions and values. And UNESCO will be very happy as a kind of the founding and also the non-voting member of the Asian Pacific Institute of the Broadcasting Development. We'll be very happy to work with you for the sake of peaceful planet, prosperous people with the partnership. I really wish this conference forum will reflect on how the media and the broadcasting responsibility should be in the coming years towards Agenda 2030. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to request Dr. Abbas Nasseri Taheri, Director General, International Department and Advisor to President IRIB and AIBD Iran, to please address the gathering.
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, honorable ministers, excellencies, distinguished guests at the 15th Asia Media Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. At the outset, I wish to welcome all the esteemed guests from all over the world to the city of New Delhi, which reflects a rich cultural and artistic legacy. And I want to deliver my sincerest thanks to the Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting, the Smriti Irani, and her colleagues for the excellent hospitality and organizing this meeting. The Asia Media Summit, which is held every year, is a valuable opportunity for the sharing of views and experiences amongst media people in Asia. The challenges of the modern communication era that is emerging along with the colossal growth of the communications industry are in need of swift and innovative solutions by media directors and practitioners so as to protect the audience as the most important assets for the broadcasting systems. One of the perils which is frightening broadcasting media practitioners is the undermining of traditional, indigenous, and national culture. The family unit as the foundation for cultural continuity and sustainability in various corners of Asia has been negatively affected by unfitting media products. Our local myths, stories, and fables in Asia can be converted into scenarios for the producing of films and TV series based on an innovative approach. And in this case, a bond will be created between our past and future generations. Such a bond can be boost our soft power in the new arena. Today, we have come together at this forum so as to share our experiences in Asia and the Pacific and learn how to protect our cultural borders and disseminate our deep-rooted and indigenous cultural messages through storytelling with global language. In order to realize this goal, we have to take into account a number of issues. The first reality is the emergence of powerful and tenacious rivals. Citizen journalists, social media, users, and small media-based businesses produce contents with a considerable speed and seek to attract more people towards their content and platforms. The internet and digital technology has facilitated this trend. As the main producers of content, we, broadcasters, should adopt an innovative approach toward this phenomenon and at the same time offer innovative and high-quality contents in order to stay away from falling behind our rivals. This will require investments in the fields of infrastructures, regulatory measures, and human resources in congruity with the new media business environment. Secondly, we are in need of understanding the benefits of compatibility with the new technologies. The distribution of TV contents on the Internet Protocol and IPTV will provide better access to contents by the audience and will enable them to experience the interactive nature of media. Thirdly, there is the need for organizing and managing the production and dissemination of radio and television contents in cyberspace. Perhaps one of our points of weakness in Asia is the issue of planning and enforcing regulations in connection with cyberspace, which needs a considerable consideration to take place. Of course, there are more challenges ahead of us, and at the same time, we come across new opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, we should make efforts in order to find new ground for joint cooperation and exchange of experiences at such forums so as to address the aforementioned issues. I'm certain that the media directors, the media practitioners and professionals from Asia and the world based on their novel and innovative ideas will open a new chapter in the era of modern media. In conclusion, I wish to once again thank the Indian Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and Director of AIBD, Mr. Changjin, for the successful arrangement of this meeting. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir. We now have a video message from Deputy Secretary General Amina J. Mohammed of the United Nations. If you can play the message, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really pleased to send greetings from the United Nations to all of you who have gathered in Delhi for the 15th Asia Media Summit. Media practitioners and policymakers have a crucial role in shaping the development of this vast continent and ensuring it is inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. In our digital age, people the world over have access to more information more quickly than ever before. But in the spirit of the global village, first envisaged half a century ago by the great media theorist Marshall McLuhan, it is essential that we bridge the digital divide and enable each woman and man, girl and boy, to participate meaningfully in their community and beyond. The media has an essential role in providing accurate and objective reporting and reflecting people's aspirations and challenges. Media institutions are the foundations of the Fourth Estate. They are indispensable in informing people, galvanizing support, and holding leaders, society, and the private sector to account. I'm delighted to see that your gathering includes a special session on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This agenda, agreed by the world's leaders 3 years ago, is based on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that are aimed at improving the lives of all and building a more sustainable planet. We need you, the media, to tell the stories of the goals and how we can achieve them. Working together, we can make a real difference. I wish you productive discussions and a successful summit.
I now request the Honourable Minister for Information and Broadcasting and Minister for Textiles, Government of India, Madam Smriti Zubin Irani, to please address the gathering.
His Excellency Shri Hassanul Haq Inu, Minister of Information, Bangladesh, His Excellency Dr. Q. Kanharit, Minister of Information, Cambodia, Mr. Sam Seok Ko, Standing Commissioner, Korea Communications Commission, our Director General, International Department and Advisor to President IRIB and AIBD Iran, Dr. Abbas Nasiri Tahiri, my friend Shigeru Ayogi, Director UNESCO, on the dais, one of our most dynamic media personalities, the MD Times Group, Mr. Vineet Jain, my colleague in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, DGPIB, Sitanshu Kar, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. A nation of storytellers, 1.3 billion Indians are proud hosts to the 15th Asia Media Summit. We welcome today 228 delegates from 39 countries, bound by our desire to tell our stories in our times. While our representative of the Indian media, Shri Vineet Jain, spoke eloquently about the possibilities and the challenges of the media industry in India, let me add what I feel about our industry. While the direct estimated impact of our media industry is close to rupees 1,35,000 crores, if you look at the indirect and induced benefits taken into account, our media industry today has an output of 4.5 lakh crores, which amounts to 2.9% of India's GDP, with a close to 4 million people associated with it. It is one of the fastest growing advertising market, expected to touch $10.59 billion by the end of 2018. And the mobile spend is estimated to grow to 1.55 billion in the year 2018. When we talk about the government's interventions and how the government seeks to support the media industry in India, I should here say that the FDI limit has been increased to 100% in our cable and DTH satellite platforms, that today we have close to 323 FM channels operational in our country, and under the aegis and leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, we have just paved the way for auction of 683 channels now in 236 cities in the subsequent batches in our nation this year. I must add here that we have a vibrant community radio system in our country. With 215 community radio stations operational, we have 100 more in the pipeline. In our endeavor to encourage the community radio movement in our country, we have increased our subsidies for setting up community radio stations from 50% to 90% in our northeastern states and 75% to other states, subject to a maximum limit of 7.5 lakhs. I must say that the power of radio today in a digitized world is such that our Honorable Prime Minister reaches out to every citizen through his program Man Ki Baat, which has been simultaneously in 24 languages and reaches around 86.88% of our population. But today we come together under one roof to discuss our values and our storytelling capacity. What are the kind of stories that we want to tell? India has a rich history of storytelling going back to 4,000 to 5,000 years. Who can forget the impact of Ramayana, of Mahabharata? Who can forget the impact of poets like Subramanyam Bharati, who fueled a freedom movement? And who can forget that today we have a vibrant media industry which looks upon the digital world not only as a challenge, but also as an opportunity. Now, with an ever-competitive, expanding market, which has global implications and opportunities, while we together want to delve and deliberate upon Asian values and the good stories that need to be told successfully, one of the challenges that we need to discuss is how do we attract, how do we retain, how do we develop, and then deploy talent which frees good content from the trappings of revenue needs and brings about a balance in media institutions. Hence, it's extremely relevant that when the United Nations delivers a message to this very media summit, it speaks about sustainable development as one of the topics on which leaders from across Asia will sit and discuss and debate upon. When we look at the emerging media scenario, what do we see? Do we look at the new evolving technologies from a position of suspect, or do we look at it from a position of opportunity, from a position of consolidation or further expansion? India today is poised to have over 969 internet million users in the year 2021. As has been enunciated by Mr. Jain, this is the time to put laws, ethics, rules into place, which helps us balance out the industry so that we don't have one dominant player who rules the roost. And hence, I'm extremely glad that this summit also discusses media rules, ethics, and laws in these evolving times. And I'm extremely pleased that the Honorable Minister of Law, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, has deemed it fit to address the August gathering today. We are here together to tell stories. We are here together to look at opportunities where we can leverage our powers as civilizations, as nations, but also as institutions to ensure that every citizen has a voice today in the media industry. Why is it that now the media has become consumer-centric? Well, that is one of the changes that the digital industry has brought into the media field. I'm glad that in this two-day deliberation, even opportunities in terms of evolving technologies in broadcasting will be discussed by distinguished guests and speakers. And I'm hopeful that these 2 days of meetings and deliberations will throw up new ideas for not only exchange, but also implementation for nations who are a part of the AIDB family. Once again, on behalf of my country, on behalf of the Government of India and the Ministry, I welcome all the delegates and your excellencies for your participation. And I'm hoping that this, the 15th Asia Media Summit, concludes on a new pathway so that we as countries together can look at aspects not only of sustainable development, can look at aspects of not only good storytelling, but also look at pathways where we can strengthen our media institutions, for they are very much integral to creating cultural properties, not only for nations, but all of mankind. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you, Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. We are all looking forward to a very engaging summit. We are all grateful to our distinguished guests on the dais for taking part in this inaugural session. And as a token of appreciation, I would like now to invite Mr. George Kuruvilla, CMD Bessel, to present the mementos on behalf of the organizers. First, to our Honorable Minister, Srimati Smriti Zubin Irani. Dr. Abbas Naseri Taheri, Director General, International Department and Advisor to the President. Mr. Shingeru Ayagi, Director, UNESCO, New Delhi. Mr. Sam Seok Ko, Standing Commissioner, Korea Communications Commission. Dr. Hugh Kanharit, Minister of Information, Cambodia. Mr. Hansanul Haq, Honorable Minister, Information, Bangladesh. Mr. Vineet Jain, MD, Times Group. And Mr. Sitanshu Kar, DG, PIB. Thank you once again, everyone. With that, we come to the end of this inaugural session. I'd like to request you all to join us for tea at Shah Jahan Hall. We'll be back for the second plenary.
As the delegates take a short break for tea, we'll be back with the live proceedings. But also just to share with you that yesterday, which was the pre-inaugural day, where a lot of meetings, conversations, and media sharing also happened. It was a day well spent. We covered it for you. Let's take a brief look.
Social media is your friend. It's your brother. You don't have to love your brother all the time. We all know that. You can have it as your sister if you like. But if you accept my saying that radio is a social medium and that understanding the rules of social media and the triangle of why people share things, if you're ready to accept that, then one example to illustrate that, to use social media very concretely as your brother or as your friends. If you do talk topics on the radio, and if you do calls and whatever, and Steve will go into this a little more, I challenge you to think about this. Put talk topics on Facebook first, the evening before, the afternoon before. Try, you know. You want to talk about, I don't know, whatever it is. Put it on Facebook first, see what happens. See what happens, right? see what happens and see who participates. Because one thing is, people might not care, and then you see, you know, when you have 3 likes and 1 share, you see, okay, it's probably not the greatest thing on the planet. But then there's another layer to it, which is you can find people with interesting views that way. You know, let's make up a topic. Let's make up a topic. Say, all men are stupid. I'm just making this up. I have this top of my head, right? So let's say tomorrow morning you have nothing better to do on your radio station than do a talk on all men are stupid. Because the female host comes in and says, oh God, I just broke off with my boyfriend. He's the stupidest idiot on the planet, and blah, 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 blah. So let's just imagine we decide editorially that that's your topic. Okay? All men are stupid. You put that on Facebook and you say, you know, Maria, whatever her name is in the morning, thinks that all men are stupid. What do you think? What do you think happens? Either nobody will care, or you will have a lot of replies. A lot of people will say yes, a lot of people will say no, a lot of people will say how dare you, a lot of people will say that's the most stupid topic, I'll never listen in the morning. All that will happen. And then some people will say interesting things. Some people will say men are particularly stupid if they're under 30. Or they will say, yeah, men are stupid, it's true, but football fans, they're the worst. They're really dumb as hell. And you'll get statements like these. And what you can do then is get in touch with these people. You can click them, send them a personal message and say, hey, that's a really interesting statement. Wouldn't you like to be on the air tomorrow? And lots of people will say, no, I don't want to be on the air tomorrow. And some of them will say, you know what, yeah. It's a question also of how you woo them, how you schmooze them, how you get them to say, which is a really great opinion. We need you on the air. Come on, can I call you for a quick statement? You don't have to have them live on the air. You have a quick statement, pre-record it. You know what? Probably Steve's going to tell you that as well, but good callers usually don't call at 7:05 or at 8 or 10 or whenever you need them. They usually don't. The good callers, you need to work hard on. It's my experience. And if you find them through this, and if you find 2 or 3 great statements, and you get 1 or 2 of them, just record them for a few, like 10, 15, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, whatever. That enriches your show very, very much. And if it doesn't work, if your topic dies on Facebook, so be it. There's no law that requires you to put everything you have on Facebook on the air. Quite to the contrary. The law is you only put on the air what's really fantastic. So you use it only on the air if it's really, really good.
I'm using very basic mobile phones. You'll have all the people who've got the iPhone 10, but you can do it with a very, very basic. This is my favourite picture. This is what mobile journalism isn't, but what mobile journalism, unfortunately, in some places has actually become. Somewhere in the middle there is a phone. That's effectively the holder that goes on a stand. That's basically what you can get by with. But this is, if you want to get a basic mobile kit, this is the basics that you can use. You can add to it by putting a slightly bigger thing with the light on. But it's very, very, very simple kit. I'm just going to play this video first of all, and then we'll just break down some of the
Our topic today